Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a Lunch and Learn session as we take this opportunity to learn about all the important resources that are available to you as a member of the Down Syndrome Association. But now I'd love to introduce you to Moyanda. Now, he finds great joy and great responsibility in holding the stories of others. As a licensed professional counselor, his professional experiences include having served as a district counselor in the Parkway School District for 16 years, if you can believe that, and currently serving as a full-time private practice therapist and co-founder of Clear Journey Counseling and Professional Services, LLC. He has been a guest contributor for the Down Syndrome Association of Greater St. Louis in a variety of capacities. He's also a regular guest speaker for Education Plus's Restorative Practices Academy, and he also teaches a quarterly class within the St. Louis County Family Courts. This is designed to assist young people who have created harm within the community learn how to make those things right and correct their wrongs. He's also shared learning with Whitfield School and Wyden Middle School in the Clayton School District. In addition, Moyanda's journeys have taken him to Dallas, Texas, where he introduced a parent empowerment group model to the 2024 Down Syndrome Affiliates in Action National Conference. He also recently presented to the faculty from the Robbins County School District in Tyre, Georgia, on restorative practice theory and discipline. This man knows his stuff. He's also coached cross country and track at Parkway North High School since 2013. Moyanda and his wife have been married for 23 years and have 5 wonderful children.
Linda, thank you so much for that introduction. And you all who are part of this group today, thank you all so much for being here. This is a very, very important topic, not solely for the topic title, but because of you. Every person on this call in some capacity is or has served as a caregiver. And that is really, really important. So you were important. A lot of times those roles and the duties and responsibilities go unnoticed, sometimes maybe under or unappreciated. And sometimes it's just downright hard. So I want to let you know that we see you and thank you so much for being here. My presentation tonight is not the definitive presentation on caregiver support, but it does hope to help bring forth some things that maybe we need to look at internally or together. And also, it helps us to start and continue conversations. A lot of times we find ourselves isolated, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but it gives us the opportunity to voice and see that we are not by ourselves. And when the worst thing is that we feel like we're by ourselves, we don't know, we don't really feel that support. And so I think one of the audience members or participants spoke about the need for connection, the need for being a part of a group. And so for today, let's start the conversation. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions, please throw them up in the chat. I have a tendency to kind of bounce back and forth between questions and make it more engaging. Also, too, you might want to pull, if you can, pull a sheet of paper to your side, because I might ask you to write some things down. All right. And so we'll do that there. Okay. Also, too, something that is important to know about me is not only am I just kind of this random guy that people know. My sister Obeyo, she's 35 years old, and she is a person who lives with Down syndrome, and she's a wonderful joy and a very compassionate young lady. Some people might call her a spitfire for those who know her best, but she's awesome. And there may come a time when her health declines and she's able to do the things that she is able to do now. So I share this info with you today, as I'm also sharing this information with myself. So I want you all to understand and know that I see you. And we want to continue to demonstrate and show and care love for those who we love. All right, first order of business. Look at this slide and tell me, how do you feel when you view this slide? What's coming up for you? Does it feel real? What do you notice in you as you are looking at this particular slide?
Feels like day-to-day life.
As you look at that, where do you feel that in your body?
My head, my chest, my back.
I see it and think city, and I'm a country girl, and that looks awful.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's like some problems that they look so complicated, it's just like, forget it.
So we find ourselves sometimes when we're living day to day, we find our own issues and our own feelings. We find our sometimes resources for the work that we do for our loved ones are often frustrated by red tape, social and political factions warring with each other, fatigue. And one thing I'm noticing the last couple of weeks when I talk to some of my clients, fatigue. Fatigue is very, very interesting in that we can deal with a lot of stuff. But when we talk about being fatigued, we're tapped out, right? It's hard to continue to keep on going. Sometimes we have to deal with our own unacknowledged grief. Sometimes these new and unexpected roles come out of nowhere. Where's all the collaboration that everybody promised, whether it be friends, family, or otherwise? What about feeling like we're in perpetual flight or fight mode? All right, we're stressed out, and yet we continue to keep going. All of the emotions are real, and in some regards, we have to acknowledge their existence. But for many of us, we suppress them because we just don't know what to do with them, or we don't feel that we have time to address them, especially when we have a list that is a mile long and 2 miles wide, right? But here's the paradox in all of that, and I'll talk a lot about paradoxes sometimes through this thing, is even with that thing that keeps us saying, well, we can't stop to deal with these kinds of things because we just have to keep going. Our loved one needs this. We really need to do that. But here's the paradox. If we don't, those emotions and the reactions and the stressors will find their way up through us. And those are what cause these things about fatigue and burnout. There's a saying that I heard probably last year. It said, we can't address what we suppress. And I will say that again, we cannot address what we suppress. The emotional reactions will continue to demand their attention until we feel like we're going to break. So I just want to acknowledge that and put that on the forefront. But there is hope. And again, thank you for all that you do. And also want to honor a couple of things. Want to honor the reason why you do what you do. For many, it came from a sense of love or duty or obligation, or all three of those. And regardless of your why, I just want to know that we want to take today and this time to take care of you for this moment, this hour that we have to. So let's find out a little bit about understanding ourselves. Let's also add in these two questions. How did you become a caregiver? And how long have you been caring for your loved one? Some are parents, some are siblings. So this extends beyond just the space of working with and raising and caring for our loved ones who have Down syndrome. I saw other people that we care for as well, like our parents. I see some people with other disability type ranges there as well. So this is very, very important, very pertinent. Okay. And so the length of time. So again, understanding our roles and how we get to that role is very, very important. When we begin to talk about, I know we spend the time talking about burnout, but let's talk about this here. What are some of the blessings and benefits of caregiving? Even though we're dealing with some really, really hard things, what are some of the blessings that you found or benefits?
My daughter is 3 years old and she lights up every room, and every person she meets, they can't help but smile when they're around her.
Yeah.
That is a blessing to know that she can put a smile on anyone's face.
But I said I learned how to become an advocate for what I believe in. Yeah, and Jimmy has a smile for everyone when we are out, and he has blessed many lives. I was touched by this quote: being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while someone gives you courage. By loving someone gives you courage. And I think sometimes we have to have these things that remind us of why we do what we do, right? Because again, the drudgery or the difficulties can cause us to forget the good things and forget the hope that we have in doing this work. My grandson is such a loving person. He amazes me with all the things he's learning and capable of doing. Yes. And we can go on and on and on. But then we run into those times, we run into challenges. Emery Austin, I don't know who Emery Austin is, but it's a cool quote. It says, some days there won't be a song in your heart. Sing anyway. This work is filled with a lot of challenges. Sometimes we don't want to give voice to the challenges because sometimes we feel like we're complaining. But I'd like to give us just a moment to reflect on some of the challenges because this is where the work actually begins, right? If we can look at the challenges and put voice to them and give ourselves permission to speak some of those, then we can figure out kind of what to do with those, okay? So let's give me a couple of challenges that come up as a result of being this awesome caregiver that you are.
My daughter has a lot of health challenges.
Hmm.
She has had 3 major open hearts, 3 cardiac caths,
Hmm.
a GI intestinal surgery, a couple of ears. So it's just been a lot. And through all of that, she has been puking since since October of last year.
Mhm.
And we cannot figure out why.
Yeah.
And it is very hard to see her go through that and do all you can with taking her to the doctors and trying different medicines, but not seeing any results, and trying to change doctors, change hospitals, just
Yeah.
try to find answers.
Thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable in that space. If we were doing this as a group session, I would say, can we all just send Amber some love and then sharing just some uplifting, positive vibes, toward her because this is challenge. It's hard. I don't even know the right word to say, but it's hard. And so we would just want to send you a lot of love that way and hope that there are some ways that people will be able to, find some answers.
For me right now, it's been challenging because my daughter, she's 32 years old, but it's like I'm still helping her get dressed in the morning for her day program, and getting her to get ready is a struggle because she's always telling me, no, I'm not ready to get
Mhm.
ready, and I need a minute, and she doesn't want to brush her teeth, and it's she fights back a lot now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so every day is my morning starts out this way, and
Mhm.
she fights back. Everything is no. She doesn't
Yeah,
cooperate. She doesn't listen. So
yeah. Again, let's send each other some love and some good vibes toward each other in this space, and just know that you are not alone. The mere fact that we can have this conversation means that you are not isolated, even in times where we feel like we are. I hope that that can provide just a modicum of comfort in the moment to say there's somebody else who understands my story, even though I don't have to explain myself as I explain my story, if that makes sense. And that's the power of connection. There's a power of connection. Again, thank you. What we're going to do right now is move into this other space here. Where we're going to begin to look at kind of constructs of what actually caregiver fatigue is, some signs and symptoms here. There are 2 constructs. I heard people talk about this, and I learned one of the things that I'm learning is that caregiver burnout and compassion fatigue are similar constructs. And I don't know, like, they sometimes are used interchangeably, but in some ways they're a little bit different, right? Burnout versus caregiver fatigue. Um, Fatigue can be more like the differences between a weather incident and climate, right? So in some places it rains, rains a lot in a lot of places in the world, but some places in the world have a designated what they call rainy season as a part of their climate. So let's look at caregiver burnout at more like a long-term weather event, and caregiver fatigue is more like a climate issue. Okay, so we're going to look at caregiver burnout first. Right. So all of these things have a cumulative effect. In the beginning, we don't necessarily feel it, but it just kind of drip by drip over time adds up. And then we kind of run into this space called this thing called unrelenting fatigue. I'm never able to rest. Sometimes our health begins to catch up to us. So if you find yourself in things like, ah, man, I've had this cold for several weeks and I can't shake it. That might be some things to kind of look at, right? Unpredictable anger and other emotions, random or generalized irritability and outbursts, things that are not a part of our character that sometimes just kind of, whoo, and we're like, wow, I just said that. I just did that, right? So examples might be, I've had it up to here, I needed to go to the bathroom and I need you to leave me alone and whatever that might be, right? Other symptoms, withdrawal and isolation. So while some people may find themselves become more irritable and outwardly, maybe even quote unquote aggressive. Some people may pull back and isolate and hide because they may I'm tired of people. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to see another human being. Um, they find themselves not wanting to seek joy or connection, don't want to be bothered. Sometimes this moves into more clinical depression, um, you know, characterized by things like caregiving's too much. I feel like I want to end it or ending it all. I would say in spaces like that, let me put this out here. It's okay that those feelings are there and that we acknowledge them, number one. Okay. Number two, if those are feelings that are coming up for you, I would strongly suggest that you find someone professional help to kind of help work through those things in a non-judgmental way. And if it's an emergency, please, 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 I'll say please again, reach out to either 988 or 911. Okay. 988 is the kind of mental health 911. 911 is kind of the general catch-all emergency space. There's also places like behavioral health response, and unfortunately, I can't recall the number off the top of my head, but it is important place that you can talk to in a pinch there. I think they have 24-hour access, right? But understand that these experiences that we have can cause us to take us to places where we never thought we would be. And so it's important as those things come up for you. And as we talk through this presentation today, folks, there may be some things that get surfaced. Okay. And it's important that if those things surface for you, don't stuff them, don't hold on to them. Please, 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 maybe talk to us offline. Find someone that you can trust to talk to help process those emotions and those feelings. Okay, our intent is not to spark a trigger, but our intent is to help give voice to some of the things we've been holding on to for quite some time. There is this thing called compassion fatigue. I'll say that for just a moment. And then lapses in our own care. Sometimes we're giving, pouring, 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 and we forget to eat. We forget to sleep. We forget our own hygiene, right? All those things are part of the places that we don't like to talk. They're not really exciting things to talk to others about. Matter of fact, sometimes those are things that become, points of shame or embarrassment. But they are important things to recognize in ourselves that, wait a minute, I need to take a time out and find someone to help me address these things. It's hard to be a person on an island. We need to be able to walk together and share and shoulder each other's burdens. We're going to move from caregiver burnout, to compassion fatigue. A little bit different. It's more severe state of being than caregiver burnout. Some have called it a secondary traumatic stress response clinically, from exposure to others' traumatic experiences, creating high levels of emotional stress. Where this one really is a little bit different. So many similarities. But what we find is that if I'm a professional, let's say I'm a professional caregiver and I do this for a job and a living, hopefully my employment gives me like PTO, pay time off, or some peer support and those kinds of things. But if I'm a loved one who says, I'm taking care of my parents, or I'm taking care of my child, or I'm taking care of others, I'm not really afforded those kinds of things, right? Unless I seek them out, I pay for them myself. And that might be very, very taxing as well, right? Some of the things we think about are weakened loss of empathy for those in our care. It's like, how is it that I got to the point where I just don't care, right? Caregiving relationships initially founded on empathy sometimes move to some distance between us and the loved one that we're caring for. It may be physical, psychological, spiritual, and social exhaustion. It may be hard because those who are part of our circle may not be contributing in the way that we thought they would be contributing, right? And what does that mean now? We had an agreement, siblings, we had an agreement, spouse, we had an agreement, somebody else, and they may or may not be coming through in the way that we thought, right? These are all different ways, and sometimes that causes us to turn either inward or also outward and become insensitive or indifferent to the person that we are caring for. Another set of just kind of down and dirties here, or again, these similar to what we saw when we're looking at burnout, feeling overwhelmed, drained, and exhausted, avoidance of loved ones, decrease in patience and tolerance, angry outbursts, cynicism, and hopelessness. These are really, really, when we get to the place where we're hopeless and jaded, we got some troubles there, right? Heightened anxieties, okay? Inability to make decisions, difficulty sleeping. Sometimes it manifests physically. There's a great book out there called The Body Keeps the Score. And it talks about how our bodies may hold on to things that we try to suppress and we think that we're done with, but our body is just continually grinding away with the turmoil that we're feeling inside because we have not given it its due. And largely because we feel like there's not enough time to do so, right? If we take care of ourselves, then we're doing somehow or another, we might feel that we're doing our loved one a disservice. So the question is now what? All right, so I want to show you this quick video here. Some of you all of a certain age might remember this from back in the day.
When an engine needs a rebuild, I bring it to Joe.
That's me.
And you know what he's rebuilding a lot more of these days?
4-cylinder engines.
Small engines work a lot harder than big engines, so if you have a small car, it's even more important to take care of it right. Change the oil regularly, and put in a new Fram oil filter when you're supposed to. A Fram filter doesn't cost much.
I do.
But the choice is yours. You can pay me now.
Or pay me later.
As we begin to look at that, we have to ask ourselves the question, how do we take care of ourselves, right? How do we take care of ourselves? A lot of times we think that caring for ourselves is selfish. It's not selfish in this context at all, right? It allows us for us to have the fuel to find joy in what we do and continue through the hard times, okay? You're not caring for yourself to the exclusion of others. This is not I need to take care of myself and I'm living my best life. This is different, right? There's a space of loving your neighbor as yourself, right? So that as means equal, right? So you loving this person who needs your help, needs your care, needs your support in some amazing ways that you show up. In order to continue to show up, though, you need to make sure that your cup is filled. And while we do this, time is of the essence, right? Sometimes we notice that our relationships, our family of origin relationships, our spousal relationships, other significant relationships in our lives, when they are struggling or maybe not in the healthiest places, sometimes those relationships, notice I said relationships are not people, but sometimes the relationships tax the efforts of our caregiving. So it's important that we are able to feed and pour into or get poured into ourselves. Okay. So what are we supposed to do? Well, I want you to begin to pay attention to your emotions. I don't have emotions. I don't have time for emotions is what people say to me a lot. I would say you don't have time not to. You cannot suppress them. Lean into them. They are directional cues. They are warning signals. I'll give you this example, this analogy when I talk about emotions. Give me a thumbs up if some point in your time in your life you like to cook, especially pancakes on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Give me a thumbs up. Some people like to do that. Okay. All right. And let's say that at 10 a.m. you're doing this and you're cooking pancakes and you leave the room to go do something, maybe to check on your loved one, maybe to go check your phone, maybe to do whatever people do, and the smoke alarm goes off. How you might respond to that 10 a.m. smoke alarm and you're cooking pancakes in the kitchen. How do you respond? What would you do?
Check the stove.
Yeah, check the stove. Maybe open a window, fan something around, right? Okay, now.
Take the battery out.
Take the battery out. Yes, Shh, I didn't say that if there are any firefighters or families of firefighters online. Um, but let's say it's 2 a.m. Nobody's cooking a thing. Everybody is dead asleep. And that same smoke alarm goes off. What do you do now? And some people may panic. Yeah. You have a very different response, right?
You move
Some
to
people
get everybody to see what the danger is.
see what the danger is, get everybody to safety. Yeah. And so what's important to know is that, like the smoke detector in your house, emotions are signals, right? They're indicators. They are not dictators, right? And so it's important for us. They don't tell us what to do. They tell us that something is amiss. And so what we need to do is be able to pay attention. Don't suppress those and find out what they're trying to teach us. I want you to be aware of your tendency to isolate during those emotions that come forth because of real and taxing experiences that you've had. There's a lot, sometimes it's hurt, there's distrust, disappointment, shame, guilt, etc., that come out of those things that causes us to want to just kind of move away from everybody. I would challenge you to lean into those spaces, because then we begin to find out what the emotions are telling us about ourselves, about our levels of energy, our levels of being able to absorb and to sit with what we're dealing with right now, etc. And so that's why I say the emotions are actually good for us. Not meaning just because we have another session on dealing with what emotions, the more in depth about emotions. But then there's something else. What else do we do? Journal regularly. That helps us to find data points that help us find our patterns, right? So how do I journal? I don't like to journal. Okay, well, here's some possible cues. This is an exercise I'd like you to do maybe on your own. If you want to take a picture of this screen, you can. Possible journal cues are: what am I feeling right now? What do I feed in my body? What do I feel in my body? I'm sorry. What do I need right now? Who do I need right now? Okay. Those 4 things, you don't even have to write long sentences unless you feel compelled and you have the time to do so. But you may want to just chat in. I'm feeling frustrated. I feel it in my chest. What do I need right now? I need like 5 minutes to breathe. Who do I need right now? I need my person. Remember, this is very, very hard to do alone. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Soda is not hydration. Coffee by itself is not hydration. Wine or what have you, I'm not going to speak one way or the other, but water is what I'm speaking of as far as hydration. It helps to balance us. Okay, yeah, you can add some little flavor stuff you want. Hydration, hydration, hydration.
You don't believe.
Healthy and balanced food. Take care of our own health and hygiene. Exercise, if it means you take a walk, 15-minute walk, 10-minute walk, it's important. Human connection. Social media doesn't count as human connection, folks. It's a brain drain. Find time to pray, dance, laugh, sing, walk, talk with a therapist, talk with a loved one. Find places and people who will feed and pour into you. A lot of these things we already know, but sometimes it's good to say them, okay? And then we can maybe then find and collaborate with others to figure out, well, yeah, this is all well and good, Moyanda, sure, but I don't really have time. You don't know my life. I understand that, and I appreciate that. And like the guy said, we're going to have to figure out and maybe collaborate to figure out how we can make some time and take baby steps in order to get there. Because it's really, really important for not only the person you're caring for, but it's also important for you, right? This is important for you, and your health and your well-being. So I invite you to explore this topic further. I can be a resource. I know there are lots of resources that the DSA has.